Purpose of the standard control is, if you go for a standard controller, I can override any one of the standard pages, or I can override any one of the standard functionalities, or I can create custom new buttons on the standard page. Either I can override the standard buttons and links, or I can create custom buttons on the standard pages. Either I can create custom buttons on the standard pages or override standard functionalities on the standard pages. But now what is our requirement? Our requirement is, I want to go with overriding or creating your custom buttons on list view page. Now this is a list view page. Based on the option you have selected, we are getting a list. Now here I want to create a button where I want to perform mass update. Whichever the records I selected, they should be deleted. Whichever the records I have selected, they should be updated. Whichever the records I have selected, they should be updated, deleted, or new records should be created. They should be raised into someone else. What you are trying to do? I want to create a custom button on the list view page, which is used to perform mass operation. Standard controller, fx page dot standard controller is referring to only one. It is referring to only fx page dot standard controller. Fx page dot standard controller is referring to only one record. When you go with list view page, we are selecting a multiple records. That is the reason we are supposed to go with fx page dot standard set controller. Now, what is the button I am trying to create? List view button. In the last class, whatever the example we have seen, that is creating a button on detail page. Detail page button is what we have created. So now what I want to create is list view button. What I want to create is a list view button. Let us understand how you create a list view button. Exactly the same way what we have done in the last class, but slightly different. Look at the point. What I'm going to get? Example, fx page dot standard set controller. In the last class, when I told controller dot get record, what did I receive? In the last class, when I told controller dot get record, particular record is fetched, which was referred by the controller. Now it is a standard set controller. It is referring to a group of record. Now in the list view page, I am creating the button. Whichever the record I am selecting, that record should be fetched. Markonda, mute your mic. And there are two connections. Remove one connection. Right. Now look at this one. So controller dot get records. Now the point is, do you want to get all the records, or do you want to get a selected records? Now controller dot get records or controller dot get selected. Do you want to get all the selected records, or you want to get all the records? This is the question mark. Second question is, boss, from where are you getting the records? Now, when the records are displayed on the top, you are displaying the list view button. But how those records are coming? We need to understand this. Do you remember the record set var concept? In the VF page, standard controller, and we told record set var. Did you people remember that concept? How that record set var records came? based on the filter, whichever the filter we are selecting, whichever the filter we are selecting, based on this filter, some records are coming. Out of these records, I am selecting some of the records. First, these records are coming based on what? Based on the filter. Based on the filter, what we have selected, okay, couple of records are coming. Out of those records, I am selecting some of the records. Based on the filter, what I selected, a group of records are coming. Based on that group of records, I am selecting some records from which you are performing an operation. So what was this? These are called record set var. From the list view option, whatever the option you have selected, based on that option, list of records are coming. That list of records are fetched. List of records are fetched. Now you want to get all these records or you want to get only selected records. That is up to your choice. Now here I want to only get the selected records. How do you get the selected records? Account is equal to, because it is a single record, last class I told account controller dot, the last class is a single record, so I told controller dot get selected. But in this case, it is not a single record, it is a group of record. So list of account. Now I told you very clearly, whenever we are using a concept of extension and fetching the data from an object, only ID of the record will come. If you want to get anything other than ID, you want to fetch anything other than ID, then I should go for controller dot add fields. Okay. Now once you fetched the records. What do you want to do? Public void. I want to see. This is how we are done. Now let us go back. Anyone has any query on this code what I wrote now? Is that was clear? Now generally when you take fhpages dot standard controller or standard set controller, only ID of the record will be coming. If you want anything apart from ID, we need to create a list of fields, add them to the accounts. Then what I have done? Delete data means the moment you say delete data, delete the selected records and go back to the home page of the account. Then create a VF page. Standard controller equal to extensions equal to Now here we are getting a problem. Why are you getting this problem? If you want to go with a standard set controller, you are supposed to give record set var. Why? Because from this record set var only I am trying to display the data. From this record set var only I am trying to display the data. From this record set var only I am trying to display the data. From this record set var only I am going to select the data. Based on the filter we are getting these records. Based on the filter we are getting the records. Have a preview. Now this is a basic page. So what I am doing, whatever the page we created, we have to create a new button. How do you create a new button? Setup, build, create, build, customize, account, buttons and links. Then we have new button. What type of button? Detail or list? Display on the existing sidebar window? Yes. Do you want to display the checkboxes? Record with the checkboxes? Yes. What I want to open? Visual Force. Which Visual Force? Mass. I created a list view button. But if it is a detail page button, I went to page layout and added. But this is not a page layout. If it is a list view button, I went to a particular record and I added it. I went to page layout, I added it. But this is not a page layout. This is a list view page. If you want to add a button on the list view page, how do you add it? If you remember a concept called search layout, you remember when you click on the tab, which field should be displayed? When you click on the lookup icon, what field should be displayed? Same, I have to go to the search layout here. Search layout. The search layout will be having an option called account list. Go to the account. You are finding? Now I can select the records. Delete. It is showing you list of records you selected. Click on delete. This is how you do. I hope you are good with this. These are the list of records. These are the records are listed. Right? What is that operation called? Mass operation. If you want to work with a group of records at a time, you want to create a custom button which will work with a group of records, then we go with the standard set controller. So standard controller is used to create detailed page buttons specific to one particular record. When you go for a standard set controller, it is used to refer to the group of records, mass operation. I hope you are good with this. Shall we do one example? Right now, on opportunity object, I want to create a button here, which is called close. The button name should be close. When I select the records and click on the button, the records what I selected, their stage name should be modified as closed one and a close date should be set as today. Now I am going to have a button. I need a button on the opportunity here. On the button, if I select the records, click on that button, the selected records stage name should be modified as closed one and a close date should be today. Did you get my requirement? Right? Now create a program, create a Apex class, create an Apex class. Taking this one as a reference, create an Apex class which will fetch all the opportunities which I selected, fetch all the opportunities which we selected and update their stage name as closed one, closed it as today.
Satish, can you state the requirement once more? What all field we need to get from opportunity?
Stage name and close date. Stage name and close date.
Satish, can you please explain this controller.add fields, why we are doing that?
When you write, only ID will come. From standard controller, if you're taking, only ID will come. Only ID field will. When you say get selected, only ID field will come. When you say controller.get selected, only ID will come.
Okay, thank you.
And take first get the list of fields. Then I was supposed to add them to. Then I was supposed to get list of opportunities. Controller dot get selected. Then we are supposed to perform an operation. Public void update data. Take one by one opportunity. Opportunity OP opting. So OP dot stage name. Then we want to perform an update. Then we need to create a VF page which will display the list of selected records. You want to navigate to any particular page. Reference. And go to 006. Then I create a VF page. Standard controller equal to which object is that? Mass opti update. Opportunity. Then what is the data we are trying to display? Opti. Then what are the fields we are given here? Right. This is how we create. I don't want to create a button. I want automatically to be updated. You can also give here action equal to. If you say action equal to, automatically what happened? When the page is loading, it will be performed. I don't want to click on manual. You don't want to click on manual, I can do this. No boss. I want to interfere manually. When the page is loaded, you want to do the operation, I can give action. No, I want to display the selected records, then I want to click on update, I'll go for this. You don't want me to display the selected records, directly the records should be updated. I can go with the action on the page. So how do you add the button now? Setup, build, customize, opportunities, buttons and links. New button. Mass update. search layout. Go to the opportunities. No, opportunities which are not closed. Mass update. These are the selected records. They're modified into closed one, right? All of them are seen as closed one. So this is the concept of standard controller, standard set controller. Basically, extension. When do you go for a concept of extension? If you want to use the standard properties and you want to extend some of the standard properties with a custom functionality, then I will go for extension. Basically, in the VF page, standard controller and controller, both of them I cannot write together. Standard controller and controller I cannot write together. Standard controller and controller we cannot write together. If you want them to write together, if you want to write them together, then I need to go for standard controller with extension. When you are taking a extension, any Apex class as an extension, that class should have Apex pages dot standard controller or Apex pages dot standard set controller as a parameter in the constructor. If you want to use any Apex class as an extension, if you want to use any Apex class as an extension, then we are supposed to use Apex pages dot standard controller or Apex pages dot standard set controller as a parameter in the constructor. I repeat, if you want to use any Apex class as an extension, if you want to use any Apex class as an extension, then we need to define Apex pages dot standard controller or Apex pages dot standard set controller as a parameter in the constructor. Standard controller will refer to one record at a time. Standard set controller will refer to a group of record. Standard controller is used to create custom buttons or override the standard buttons. Standard set controller is used to create list view buttons. I hope you are good with this. Clear for everyone? Okay. Now, there is one more advantage of going for a standard set controller. What is that another advantage? That is pagination. We can achieve a concept of pagination using standard set controller. By using a concept of standard set controller, we can go for a pagination. What do you mean by that pagination, boss? Let us see. Total how many records are here? 30 records are there. Now I don't want to display all the 30 records in a single page. Then I divided the 30 records into 3 pages. Generally, all the 30 records should be displayed on the same page. I don't want to display all the 30 records in the same page. The 30 records, I want to divide them into 3 pages. So per page, how many records? 10 records. When I click on next 10 record. Click on next 10 record. So what was this concept called? Pagination. When you wrote a SQL query, I received 1000 pages, 1000 records. When I received 1000 records, will you display all the 1000 records in the same page? If you display, it is difficult for me to search. At the same time, we will get an exception called view state exception. Because any data that you are trying to display on the page will be stored in the view state. If 1000 records you are trying to display at a time, there is a possibility of encountering a view state exception. So instead of displaying all the 1000 records at a time, I am breaking the 1000 pages into multiple pages. Per page, these many records. When you click next set of record, next set of record, previous set of record. So what we are doing, we are breaking the result into multiple pages. We are breaking the result into multiple pages and displaying it. That is a concept of pagination, right? How do you implement the concept of pagination? This is very commonly used concept. Let us go to the concept of pagination. First understand, if I give return name. So I have return name. I am going to a VF page. I told name. Did I define any variable called name? I have not defined. Whenever you say name, what will be called? Get name will be called. That is the reason why we are writing a getter method. For every variable, we are creating a setter method and getter method. What is the purpose of getter method? When I say name, internally get name will be called. When I say now, when I say ACC, what will be called? Get off ACC. Are you getting my point? When you say ACC, it is going to call get off ACC. When I call name, it is going to call get name. Get name, get ACC. When I say name, it is going to call get name. When I say ACC, it is going to call get ACC. I hope you are good. Okay. Now, same concept I am going to apply now. People are good with this? So, when you say name, what will be called? Get name. When you say ACC, get ACC. Now, come back to the story. Now, I am going with public list of standard controller. So I am giving standard set controller. Apex pages dot standard set controller. Now I am giving a constructor. Now I am writing list of opportunity. Then I am giving controller equal to standard set controller. What was that? Standard set controller will refer to what? Group of records. Standard set controller will refer to what? Group of records. Now I wrote a SQL query, I passed. In the previous example, whatever the records we selected, they came to standard set controller. Now what I am doing here, straight away I wrote a SQL query, that list of records I am passing to a constructor. So I wrote a SQL query, I got a list of records. This list of records I am passing to a constructor. Apex pages dot standard controller, Apex pages dot standard set controller opti. Apex pages dot standard set controller opti. Apex pages dot standard set controller opti. Are you getting my point here? So I wrote a SQL query, I fetched the data and I am putting in standard set controller. Now let us go back. What I want to do now? Per page, how many records? How many records per page? Controller dot I told per page 5 records. Get the records in the controller, whatever the records are there, divide them 5 records into one page. divide the data into number of pages, where every page will have 5 records. Then let us go to our next point. Listen carefully. List of opportunity. Get out. So when this function will be called? When this function will be called? In the VF page, if anybody say opti, in the VF page anybody say opti, automatically it is going to call get opti. Previously I gave get name. In the VF page, if you call name, get name called. In the VF page, when you call ACC, get ACC called. Similarly, in the VF page, if you call opti, it is going to call get opti functionality. So once you got the get opti functionality, just off. When you say get records, how many records will come? When I say get records, how many records will come? Now, this standard set controller is like a cursor. When you say get records, it will give you next 5 records. When I say get records, next 5. It is a cursor. Keep moving, keep moving. First page, I'm at the 0. When you say get records, next page. Get records, next page. Are you getting my point? It is a cursor. Cursor will be keep moving towards the, from beginning to end, it will be moving. Now what was this? Get opti means in the VF page, if anybody call opti, in the VF page, if anybody call opti, it is going to call get opti. In the get opti, what they are doing? From the controller, get 5 records and display. When I say get opti, what you are doing? From the controller, get 5 records and display. From the controller, get 5 records and display. What is it? Get opti? When you say get opti, from the controller, get 5 records and display. From the controller, get 5 records and display. Now let us see this example. They gave some buttons. When I say opti, what will happen? Get opti method will be called, 5 records will be coming. When I say opti, get opti method will be called, 5 records will be coming. This is how we got. Have a preview. So how many records came now? Only 5. In opportunity there are 30 records, only 5 records we are getting. When I click on next 5 records will come. When I click on next 5 records will come. When I click on last set of records will come. So what happened? Already we have a predefined functionalities. What are they? action equal to controller dot already predefined. Why are you achieving the pagination with the standard set controller? Because every function that we require to move the cursor backward and forward is already defined in the standard set controller. Already all the methods that we require, to move the cursor backward and forward is already available on. Let us go with it. Controller dot first file record. Controller dot previous file record. Controller dot next file record. Controller dot last set of records. Now the data is changing. But I am unable to recognize it. So what I want to do? I want to create a display at the bottom. Give. Now we have size equal to controller dot I have controller dot result size. It will give you how many records we got it. Next, when you got how many records we got it, we have some mathematical functions. So what I want to do, boss, I want to find out next integer. Now if we are getting so what I require here, I want the next one. Do you have any floor? Floor of the value. Then I am going to give number of is equal to floor of size by. Now in this case, I will do one thing. Right now we have 30 records. Let me increase to 31. Otherwise, we are getting exactly. Now, what was that bug here, boss? What is the value it is expecting? Floor. Chalo. Okay. So I have given this. Here I am giving off. Then again, I got 1 of 6.0. I want to make it 6 only. So what should I do? Again, I have to say I can straight away calculate the value there, but there is an issue with that. Okay. Now 1 of 6. Right, boss. So which page? I told the data is divided into 6 pages. Now I'm giving third page, fourth page of 6. Fourth page of 6. So last we had 7 of 6. Then what is the solution I can give here? This is not giving a proper result for me. I can give teacher math dot mod of size comma 5 value is greater than 0. Greater than 0. So what I can give? Just want to give last. If you have +1, we have issue with that. So what I can do with this one now? Math dot of oops, reading only 2. Reading 32. Math dot 4 by 5. I'm in a hurry, so not applying proper conditions. Right, okay. Now we got 1 of 7. Last. I hope you are getting my point. Okay. So the issue here is why I have taken a lot of time to set these things. When you are dividing the number of records by page size, now I got 31 records. Number of records are 5. When you break, still 6 is okay. When you divide, 6 will be okay. The last one record is there. The last one record. If the size is more than this, I need to find out. If you are getting any reminder, if you are dividing the number of records by page size, if you are getting a 0, then you can give the exact size. So 30 by 5, 6 pages. If you are getting a reminder 1, then what happened? We are going to, when you divide, we are getting a 6. Basically, why I have written all this logic is, I had 31 records, boss. I want to divide by 5. I am getting a result of 6. But the number of pages are 7. In 6 pages, I cannot display because per page only 5 records. So I'm not getting the 7, I'm getting a 6. So I want to get that 7 as output. That is the reason I wrote all these logics here. How did I write the logic? Now divide the 31 by 5. If I am getting reminder, whatever the reminder we are getting, take that reminder. If the value of the reminder is greater than 0, if the value of the reminder is greater than 0, then increment the size by 1. If it is not greater than 0, then keep the exact size. Now if it is 30 by 5, reminder is 0, number of pages are 6. 31 by 5, reminder is 1, increase the page size by 1. That's how we are getting. To get that page size, we have taken this. But the problem with this is, floor is giving a decimal value. But what I want, I don't want to display 1 out of 6.0 page, 1 out of 7.0 page. It will be 1 out of 7, 1 out of 6. But what we am getting? 1 out of 6.0, 1 out of 7.0. To remove that, again I converted the data into integer. That's how, to get that extra page number, I wrote all this stuff. You get my point? Generally, number of records by page. Number of records by page size. Number of records by page size. Number of records are 31, page size is 5. So I am getting a reminder as, I am getting a number of pages as 6. Again I repeat, boss, my number of records initially is 30, exactly I got 30 by 5 I have taken. But intentionally I have increased one more record. I made that number of record as 31. I added one more record, made the count as 31. Then page size is 5. We are getting the result as 6. But on 6 pages, now is it going to be 6 page or 7 page? Actually the data will be 7 pages. Because we have 31 pages, data will be on 7 pages. But while I am displaying at the bottom, it is saying 7 out of 6. Because there are 7 pages. But what is the reminder we are getting? What is the value we are getting? 6 we are getting. So I have to make this 6 as 7, depends upon the reminder value. So I divided 31 by 5, then I found out reminder. If reminder is 0, then 6 is the page size. If reminder is not 0, 6 plus 1 is the page size. Okay. Right, boss? When you are dividing, when you divide 31 by 5, so what is the 6.1, some decimal value we are getting. When you are getting some decimal value, I should take it, I should convert into integer. Now, if you look at the formula fields, we have CL, which will give next integer. We tried there, but it's not giving me. Now, that is the reason I have taken here. I went and verified whether the CL function is giving me any value or not. Now, we got a CL. Now, if you go with a CL also, we can try it out. What was that? So, can I give it in this way also? What was that? Number of pages equal to math.cl. I tried out this, but it's not giving me the value. That's the reason I have taken the alternate solution. First I applied this, then I have taken the alternate solution as then I have taken this as alternate solution. I hope you are good with this. Purely this is to display number of pages. Otherwise, data is moving, but I am not knowing whether data is changing or not. That is the reason at the back end I gave 1 out of 7 pages. Okay. Next, when you are on the first page, When you are already on the first page, should I display that button called first? You are already on the first page. When you are already on the first page, what is the use of showing that button? So I should not display the first button when there are no previous records. If there are any previous records to me, then I have to display the first button and the previous button. I am already on the last page. When I am already on the last page, what is the use of showing the last button? So I have to customize it. So how I am customizing it? Render. Controller dot has previous. If there are any previous records to you, display the button, otherwise don't display. Controller dot has next. If there are any records next to you, then display next button and last button. If you are already on the last, don't display that button. So I am on the first page, so no previous and no first. Now I am on the second page, I have a previous and first. I am on the last page, this is how I got it. I hope you are good with this. So what we are doing, we are breaking the data into number of pages, displaying them. Why breaking the data into number of pages and displaying them? Why should you break? Okay, we are going as a concept, we are learning. Pagination means break the data into number of pages and give, right? By using what concept you have done? Standard set controller. What are the functionalities we have? Get records, get selected, set page size, get page size, how many records per page, get page number. Currently I am on which page? Set page number. You want me to take to any particular page? Add fields, get ID, next previous, next last, first. All these methods are what? Predefined methods available on standard set controller. All these are predefined methods available on standard set controller. That is the reason we are able to achieve the pagination so simply. Without writing any logic, we are able to achieve this pagination so simply because standard set controller has some predefined methods. What are they? Get all the records, get selected records, okay, set the page size, how many records per page, get the page size, how many records you are displaying for the page, get the page number, currently I am on which page number, set the page number, take me to that particular page, add fields, get ID, previous, next, last, first, has next, has previous, get result size. All these are what? Predefined functionalities available on standard set controller. That is the reason without writing any extra logic, we are able to achieve the pagination with a single line of command called has next, has previous. The same pagination if I want to apply, I need to go for a SQL query with limited offset. When I click on first 5 records I require, how do you receive? If I don't use a standard set controller, what is the alternate topic what we can use for pagination? If I don't use a standard set controller, what is the alternate topic I have? Offset 5. When you click on next, offset 5. When you click on next, offset 10. Click on next, offset 15. When I click on next, so what is it? Every time you click on a button, increase the offset, write the circle query. When you click on previous, click on previous, click on previous, click on previous. We can do this, but the problem is every time you click on the button, SQL query is running. Every time you click on the button, SQL query is going to run. But when you go with a standard set controller, only one time I am running a SQL query, getting the data, putting them in standard set controller. I wrote only one query, I brought the result, kept in a standard set controller. I am moving the cursor forward and backward. Did you get my point? I can achieve the pagination concept with the SQL query boss. Look at the point. Less than size. The same one. This way. Now, every time I click on the button, it is going to run the SQL query. Again, I click on the button, going to run the SQL query. Number of times you click, number of times the SQL query will run. But whereas when you go to standard set controller, what I am doing? I wrote a SQL query. How many times I wrote a SQL query? Only one time. Data is kept in standard set controller. In the standard set controller, what we are doing? Using the cursor, we are moving forward and backward. But how many times did you write a SQL query? Only once. I am not interacting with the server anymore. I wrote a query, I brought the data, kept in a standard set controller. I am using a cursor, moving forward and backward. So how many times you are writing? Only once. It is going to improve the performance. I hope you are good. When you go with a pagination with I can achieve pagination with a limited offset, but every time you click on the button, I have to write a SQL query and execute it. I hope you are good with this. People have followed? Okay. So basically, what is the concept of pagination? When you have a group of records, more number of records, it is not a good practice to display them in the page at a time, because the view state exception will be encountered. There is a possibility of encountering a view state exception. There is a reason we are breaking the data into number of pages and displaying it. How can you break it? I am using a concept of apex pages dot standard controller, standard set controller. Why I am using a apex pages dot standard set controller? Because it has all the predefined methods required to move the cursor forward and backward as per your requirement. What are the predefined methods we have? First, last, next, previous, get record, get selected, has next, has previous, result size, page number, set the page size, get the page size, get the page number, set the page number. All these methods are available, because of which I am preferring to use apex pages dot standard set controller for pagination. Right. Now, what is the concept of that extension? If you want to use standard controller and custom logic together, we need to go for standard controller with extension. How many apex classes you can define as an extension? more than one class. How many Apex classes? More than one Apex class I can use. But if you want to define any Apex class as an extension, we need to use Apex standard controller, Apex standard set controller as a parameter. Apex standard controller is used to refer to a particular record, and it is used to create a button on detail page or modify a button on detail page. Apex standard set control is used to create list view buttons on the page. I hope you are good with this. Clear? That's all from my end. We'll continue tomorrow. And